Hello, my name is Manson, and today I'm going to talk about myself. First is my segmentation. I am a male in the age of 24, and which means I belong to Generation Y. There are several characteristics of Generation Y which I think matches my identity, such as the more understanding about technology and which related to my digital self. And second is like the consumer behavior is more hedonic, and it shows in my consumer behavior I bought this kind of beverages not only because of my essential need of ease my thirst, but I try to gain some pleasure from this kind of purchase. As a classification of walls, I belong to the group of innovator, which I think, again, most of the description matches my identity, such as multiple interests and hobbies, and open attitude toward new things. For example, I just bought a bottle of jamon flavor of beer, which means ham in Spanish. So this is a Spanish ham flavor of beer, which is interesting, but I'm willing to give it a try. Another thing is, rather than identify me as a nagger, I think it's more suitable to say that I'm an innovator. And another thing about the innovator is the suspicious attitude toward advertisement. The second group I belong to is experiencer, and I think this kind of group is more is not like me, such as the description, love physical activities, and social animal. I think they are all not like me at all. But the one thing I have to mention here is that one description matches my identity very well, which is go against the mainstream, and I think this is very important. I will mention it later. About my identity, my identity as an outsider, because I'm new to UK. Actually, I'm only here for only 3 months, and I have never been to Europe before. So there's a crucial impact about this kind of changing that the currency value system is different, and I have to relate my values to this kind of new currency value system. Another identity I have is a student. As a student, I have a limited budget to purchase what I want. Okay. The second question is about the key factor to influence my consumer behavior. And the most important thing I think is the values I have, because as I mentioned before, I am suspicious to the advertisement or marketing, and the only one I trust is myself. So my values as the guideline and the standard to make the final decision, they are very important to me. And the second, I think, is about the macro environment, such as the culture theme. As I am back in Taiwan, there's a trend of craft beer, as you can see here, and lots of cafe. And I think I was influenced by this kind of trend. Although I was influenced by them, but I still want to keep some distance with this kind of reference group, which is the mass culture or mainstream. As I mentioned, my attitude is against this kind of mainstream. Okay. The third part is going to talk about how ethical consumer I am. And with this part, I think there's lots of contradiction between my behavior and attitude toward ethical consumption. First, if I'm trying to live in a way or consume in a way that makes the world better, but meanwhile, I think my ability is too less to actually change something. So eventually, I will just give up to do something like that. And even if I try to do that, there is some problem I have to face, such as I don't know the product I consume is ethical, whether they are ethical or not. So, for example, how do you know the bottles here is made in an ethical way or not? How do you know the bottle of beer, the bottle of water here is made in an ethical way or not? You cannot know that. Even if you know, even if the company told you that they made them in an ethical way, you cannot confirm it either. And even if you can confirm it, most of the time, the product which is made in an ethical way is with a higher price, which is higher than the price I'm willing to pay. So eventually, I want to buy it. And I want to mention another thing is like lots of information about ethical consumption, like the icon here. Lots of information are very confusing. I don't even know what the picture of a frog here means. So yeah, very confusing. Okay, so in conclusion, I think I am not an ethical consumer. Okay, the fourth part is about to talk the relationship between my consumer behavior and the theory. First, I want to mention the example about the water. So when I'm going to buy a bottle of water, I don't care about the difference between the brand, the package, and the quality. The only thing I care about is the price. So what I do is go into the shop and I'll take the lowest price of the water, and that's it. But when we talk about the beer, it's a totally different thing. And it's about my values that because beer contains three kinds of elements which are all important to me. The first is the taste. As I mentioned, the taste about my values are important to me. The taste, and the second is the knowledge system behind this kind of beverage, which is very interesting for me to explore. Like there's a lot of variety, IPA, APA, Ale, and the lager, and there's different ingredients like the hops from America, the hops from Australia, and so on. So it's very fascinating for me to explore it. And the third part of this kind of beverage is like the art part. It's more like an art craft, because as you can see here, all the labels on the bottle are different, and which makes them interesting to buy or collect. So when I'm going to buy beer, I'm willing to pay more to get a higher quality of this kind of product. So there are a huge difference between these two kind of beverage. And I think water to me is more like a low involvement product, and beer for me is more like a high involvement product. But there comes a question. Some articles say that high involvement product related to brand loyalty, but as you can see here, I'm not loyalty at all. Most of this beer are not comes from the same brand. And the second question is like some articles say higher price related to higher product involvement, but in my case it's not the truth, because beer and like the coffee to me are high involvement product, but their price are not expensive at all. The second part I want to mention is the coffee as my extended self. Coffee says a lot about myself, such as the background. I was growing in a place with lots of coffee shop near my house, which makes me feel very interested about this kind of beverage. And I also put lots of effort on understanding this kind of beverage. Like I went to the workshop to learn how to make espresso, and I went to the coffee shop to work. All of this, and with my projection and with my projection of my values, I think coffee already become a big part of myself, and as my extended self. As you can see here, I even put my digital self's name as the relative term about coffee, like campana, as you can see here. And I built my digital self with these two kind of extended self. The first picture is about the coffee shop I found. The second is like the beer I bought. But there's one thing I have to mention, that there's a question like the characteristic of this kind of beverage, which is consumable. Before you drink it, a cup of coffee is your possessions. But after you drink it, the coffee no longer exists. How are you going to define it still is your extended self if it no longer exists? Okay, the last part I'm going to talk about is the recommendation for the marketer. The first is the quality is very important, because I already have some relative knowledge about this kind of beverage. So to me, I'm relatively strict to the quality. And if the quality cannot reach my standard, I won't buy it again. The second is the professional. The client or the shopkeeper have to be very professional to solve my question. If they cannot solve my question, and I will judge them as unprofessional, and I will consider not to buy their product again. The third is the sincere. As I mentioned, I'm very suspicious to the environment, to marketing, to advertisement. So if I found the company is trying to say something for the sake of earning money from me, but they are not actually doing it, and I will judge them as dishonesty, and I won't buy their product again. The fourth is the focus on high involvement product, because this is easier for the company to engage with me. The fifth is understand the values, because as I mentioned before, my values is the core factor to influence my final decision. So the marketer should maybe make a research or something to understand more about my values. And the last one is the overall consumer experience. Although maybe some part of the environment or the product is not that good enough, but overall, if the overall ranking is good, and I will keep to purchase the product or engage with the brand. 2. Okay, so thank you. This is all of my presentation.